I thought the relatively simple lines of this colonial era Georgian building in Hobart, the capital of Tasmania, southernmost Australian state, was a great subject for a 10-minute drawing, because although I think there's certainly some interesting elements in it that are worthy of a more considered drawing, equally, the relative simplicity gives us a great opportunity to push ourselves to be relatively rapid and gestural, and to try and capture in our marks the essence of this accurately and with feeling. Basically, we have this double columned on each side porch, very shallow porch with some stairs down the front, and we have a window on each side, nicely symmetrical. And then above that, lining up with those windows and the doorway, we have 3 windows, with the centre one coming forward in pretty much the same width as the portico underneath. At the moment, I'm trying to get this portico done. I've tried to draw the columns actual size, and now I'm finding my way across the width. Now, you'll notice that I actually added some lines for the darkness, for the shadow inside the doorway, because it was just simply a bit hard to visually picture how far across to take the gap before the third column without it. And I find sometimes if there's something in my reference that makes it harder for me to visualize the true proportions, that has a distorting effect on my perception, then I simply include it in what I've already drawn, and that way I can get a more accurate estimation of where things need to be. So, having said that, I probably took it at least a millimetre too far over. It's just slightly wider than it should be. Well, that's the way it feels looking at this now. Maybe when the stairs are all in, it will make a difference. Now, the other thing that in a drawing such as this, it's important to notice is where eye level is, because the building doesn't angle away from us very much. And so the perspective angles aren't terribly strong. I mean, they're obvious, but they're not dramatically strong, especially in the lower half. So ground level is relatively low down in our building. And of course, if we look at the lines that angle downwards and look at the lines that angle the other way, somewhere between those we have eye level. And I think it's probably, looking at this, pretty much just below the columns, the tops of the columns, because the ground floor windows, the upper horizontal line slightly goes downwards, but the bottom ones clearly go upwards. And when I was doing these steps right now, speaking of going upwards, it became very aware to me that they weren't angled upwards, which they needed to be. And I'd made the rather careless mistake, I thought, of, because the angle was slight, not bothering about it. But of course, if I don't do that, when I get to the steeper angles up the top, it's going to look a bit odd. It may not feel very important now to tilt those horizontal lines upwards at the very base of the building, but it's going to look a bit more obvious when I start to tilt all the other ones. Or it will make it harder for me to tilt them the way I need to, because it will start to look a bit odd with what I've already drawn. So a little lesson there. If we don't have enough time to at least work out eye level and be conscious of how the horizontal lines angle in which direction, then we're drawing too quickly. We always have to have enough time to be able to observe the essence of our drawing and to accurately find marks to somehow capture it. And of course, it partly relates to our speed, and that also relates to our confidence. And these are not things that stay the same as our ability to observe more quickly what we need to see and be confident that we have it. And then as our ink on paper skills increase, then the process becomes much faster. One of the concerns I have with my videos is that it's perhaps easy for people to think that or somehow it's just easier for me, or I don't actually do all that careful observation because there's not time for it. It's just that I've learned to do it very quickly. I've learned exactly what I have to see, what points I need to align or I can use to align. I've learned to spot eye level quickly and so forth. I've learned to look for foreshortening. I've learned to expect it, which makes it easier to see. And I've perhaps just got a bit of a gut feeling developed as to where to put lines. That helps me with the speed. Now, I am starting to get a bit concerned about the time, but I've actually placed most of the elements I need to place now, except for just the height of where the tops of these upper windows are, and I'm doing that now with this window. Then I really have everything I need to know to fill in the gaps, to put the other two windows in, and then to put the two pilasters on the left and right corners on as well. So the question is, although it's straightforward, do I have enough time with the 10 minutes? Today I posted a video on 5 benefits personally that I've received doing 4 weeks, doing 28 of these 10-minute drawings. When I stopped and thought about it, it really has been quite a remarkable transformation for me in a number of ways. So if you're interested in how I personally have benefited, then check out that video. I think it's something like 5 ways I've personally benefited from fast timed 10-minute no, what is it? Anyway, regular, daily, that was it. How I've benefited from quick, timed, daily drawing. And it just goes to show this is not something that is just going to benefit beginners. It's not particularly designed just for beginners. It's designed for drawing improvement. And I found that I very much came into that category. So if you're interested in that, you can check out that video. Now, I'm probably sort of 8.5 minutes at this point. I think I did just look at the clock then. So I've now done the easy alignment, but you can see how by taking care with the first elements, I now can move more quickly and confidently. That also means that these upper windows are a bit more gestural. I don't have time to become as precious with the details inside. Now here's the pilaster, and that line looks a bit slightly sloping inwards or towards the building, but maybe it's just the camera angle. And now this is the sort of detail under this upper overhanging eaves and guttering that I really have to just do enough lines that there's sort of a line for everything without having to be exactly lining up things, because there simply isn't time to start modelling with all the ins and outs of the facade. As shallow as they are, they're still there, they're still happening, but I have to become a little more just in a rough way capturing them, as I did with basically everything at ground level. In this, I decided to go for the roof. So I must admit, I hadn't even noticed at this stage, I hadn't realised that little pediment was there. I was thinking it had a flat top. So I was so focused on observing the things that I was observing that I didn't even notice the things that I hadn't observed. And so now, very close to the 10 minutes being up, just adding this small pediment, checking exactly where the apex is, being careful to overhang the pediment over the supporting element underneath, and just a little bit of detail to indicate the angle and give a sense of 3 dimensions there. And this pretty much is my 10 minutes done. And I could have left it there, but instead I've gone into double time just to do the chimneys and Not sure what else I do. That might be pretty much all I do. I really did want to keep this fairly short, but a nice little capture. And again, if I were sitting across the road having a cup of coffee, this would have been the sort of drawing I could have done. And so in that way, this is good practice if we want to do urban sketching, but we don't get the chance to do it as often as we'd like. Now I'm trying to reflect what's in the reference in terms of what's through the windows. That might be a good video subject on its own, drawing reflections through glass and capturing what's behind with a pen. Drawing freehand. Think that would be a good comment? Or do you just black everything out? I try not to do that unless that's what's actually happening. So I'm just making the central doorway a bit darker, increasing the value there so that it has a sense of going back more and is the focal point, which I think it really is. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. Look, I hope you found this 10-minute drawing exercise interesting to watch. Please hit the like button if you do. But also, this photo is posted on my channel community page. So if you'd like to have a go drawing it from the reference, you can screenshot it there and print off a copy, or just draw it from the screen and have a go. But do your best to stick to as close to 10 minutes as you can, because there are benefits we get when we force ourselves to think and draw and put lines on the paper differently to how we normally do. I think the pressure of the shorter time limit is what really squeezes the change out of us and stops us just doing this the way we always do. And if we do it the way we always do, we won't learn anything new. So forcing ourselves to try new ways of thinking and of mark making and of simplifying and all of that is what we're wanting to get to, I think. But look, whatever you draw, however you draw it, in whatever time you draw it, whatever you learn or don't learn from drawing it, make sure you have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.